Good morning. Welcome to NewsWire, our midweek edition of the show. I'm Craig Mish. We got plenty to cover here today on the program. The latest in the National Basketball Association got some free agent news and some extensions once again to review with you here on the show. In addition, Major League Baseball headed toward the All-Star break, couple of new members to the Home Run Derby, and a classic matchup last night pitching-wise between the Dodgers and Brewers. We'll break that down as well. Also, Sam McQuillan will join us from Legal Sports Report. We'll join by Rob Donaldson of Underdog to go over the latest in baseball as well. And also Simon Applebaum in the house for the latest in sports wagering and also in TV and media ratings across the country. Let's get started with sports bettors who got some bad news a little bit over a week ago, learning that there's a possibility around the country you're not going to be able to claim all of your gambling losses on your tax returns. In fact, they are looking to reduce that by 10% across the country, according to a new bill submitted by the president. Now the state of New York seems to be doubling down. Don't even want to give you 10%. They basically are saying 100% of your gambling losses, there's a possibility you're not going to be able to claim anything. New York State Senator Andrew Goodnaris has introduced a new bill that will prohibit all deductions for gambling losses. 100%, not 90%, not 10%, nothing. So no matter how much money you end up losing in 2025 on your 2026 tax returns, can't claim anything, which would generate $50 million annually in revenue for people who just can't claim gambling losses anymore in the state of New York. Kind of crazy to think that this is all coming to fruition. Again, nothing in stone as of yet, but look for that bill potentially to go up by the end of the year in November. Meanwhile, Oklahoma City is keeping around one of their stars and their NBA champs. Chet Holmgren has agreed to a fully guaranteed maximum 5-year contract. It's a rookie deal, just like Paolo Banchero, a little bit less, could reach $250 million. Chet Holmgren, who had such a nice season with the Thunder, leading them and helping them to an NBA championship, looks like he's going to be staying with them in the future. Meanwhile, arguably the best player in the NBA, Nikola Jokic, has informed the Nuggets that he will not sign a super duper max. I don't know. Is there such thing? I made that up just now. Super max contract with the Nuggets. He wants to see how things are going to play out with their new coach and free agency and everything else. Jokic obviously would command even more money than Shai Gilgeous-Alexander on the open market. Remember, SGA got $70 million per year. All right, exciting night last night in Major League Baseball. Let's get to the latest. The Giants end up beating the Philadelphia Phillies in a kind of crazy fashion, especially considering it was a catcher. Patrick Bailey had a walk-off inside the park home run, hit it to the gap, went all the way in, ran all the way around. They beat the Phillies 4-3 as they pick up a very big win. Giants seem to be playing a little bit better lately. Here's Bailey on his game winner last night.
Off the bat, I just knew I got it well. And then obviously I saw it was towards Triple's alley, and I was like, oh, I got to go. Like, I at least got to get to third here. Then once I saw the bounce, I was like, all right, just don't fall over.
When you start running out of breath?
Sadly, too soon. Too soon.
Did you even pick up Matt Williams, or did you know?
I picked him up, but again, I kind of had a feeling I was going. And I saw him, he was waving, and I was just like, just don't fall over. Don't fall over.
Have you ever hidden inside the park home run before?
I don't think so. A lot's got to go right for me to hit inside the park home.
How did it feel?
Tired. I wish I would have gone over the fence, but.
You guys have such a way to make things happen late, especially when you're down this year. Even going well, going poorly, but what does that say about this team's ability to come back together?
We're just resilient. I think it starts with our leaders on the team showing up every day, playing hard, and I think offense and baseball in general is very contagious. And you get Schmitty starting us off there, Flo doing Flo things, so you're just trying to pass the baton.
Meanwhile, the pitching matchup of the season could have been last night between the Brewers and Dodgers. You had Clayton Kershaw, future Hall of Famer, against potential Rookie of the Year, Jacob Misiorowski. Misiorowski was incredible for the Brewers last night. Gave up an early home run and then shut the door on the Dodgers. Last night, Misiorowski, 6 innings pitched, 4 hits, 1 earned run, 12 strikeouts for Jacob Misiorowski, who's been as good as any rookie pitcher coming up this season. Here's Dave Roberts on just how good he viewed it from the other dugout.
He was really good tonight. We hadn't seen him before, and the stuff's really good. The fastball is pretty special, and I thought, he and Contreras did a really nice job of, hiding it at times with the curveball, with the cutter. slider, whatever it is. And we got to some 3-ball, 2-strike counts, and he made pitches right there, a lot of it with the secondary to freeze us at times. It's hard to kind of, find silver lining when a guy strikes out 12 guys or something like that. So, it just speaks to how good he was. And, they ran some other good arms out there out of the pen. And today we just really couldn't threaten. But, Clayton was fantastic. On the heels of his highest pitch count game to come back and give us 6 innings, save guys in the pen, and, set us up to find a way to win a game tomorrow. So that was a positive.
Also out west, Diamondbacks taking on the Padres. I guess this is an unexpected result in a lot of different ways. 1-0 final as the Padres beat the Diamondbacks. Fernando Tatis and Jackson Merrill played great defense and robbed home runs, but how about the game-winning home run? Luis Arias ended up hitting a home run for the Padres. Arias has been very good here in the month of July. Cubs and Twins yesterday. Twins beat the Cubs 8-1. Simeon Woods-Richardson picks up the win. They scored 6 runs in the 8th inning to blow it open. Not the best result for Chicago. Here's Craig Counsell on it.
Craig, obviously the game got blown open in the 8th, but prior to that with the offense, seems like you guys got runners on base, just couldn't get the big hit. What did you see from the offensive group?
Yeah, we didn't do enough against the starter. I think we made it a little bit too easy for him. You got through 5 relatively easy, frankly. And we just, I think we swung at the right pitches. We just had some, just kind of like just misses, and so a bunch of kind of okay hit fly balls, but not enough action. And then we had some, the 8th inning against a really good reliever. We got the first 2 guys on, and he made some really good pitches. So, and then they tacked on some big runs.
The Toronto Blue Jays are one of those teams that just keeps getting better and better as the season goes on. They beat the White Sox yesterday, rain-shortened game, 6-1. They've won 10 games in a row. It's their longest streak since 2015. Blue Jays playing great baseball. Colt Keith hit a home run, drove in 3 runs. Tigers win their 5th straight game in a row as they end up beating the Rays 4-2. All right, Mariners, Yankees, you had the 2 home run hitters that are going to be leading the pack at the All-Star break. Cal Raleigh hits a home run. Aaron Judge hits a home run, but the Yankees end up getting the win 10-3. Much needed scoring output for the Yankees, as Aaron Boone talked about post-game.
I think allowed your offense to break out post-rain delay.
Yeah, little rain delay. Chad Bowling wore one over there for us and was unfazed, kept it neutral. And obviously some really good at-bats. Big G with a big one the other way. Not sure how it impacted Gilbert a little bit. He had a pretty long layoff over there. And to put up 2 big innings against them, on a team that's been, on a pretty good roll here as far as keeping teams off the board. So really good night. And all started with Will Warren.
I think Will Warren could be a very big factor for the Yankees moving forward. Meanwhile, Angel Martinez hit a grand slam in the 10th inning. The Guardians beat the Astros after losing 10 in a row. They've now won 2 in a row. That's how baseball works. 10-6, the final. All right, coming up next here on the show, Rob Donaldson joins us. We'll talk about another fantastic pitching performance from Jacob Misiorowski and also get into the latest in baseball's odds. You're watching NewsWire here on SportsGrid. We'll take a quick timeout. And we'll be back with plenty more when we return right after this quick break exclusively here on SportsGrid. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
New to social casinos? You're in for a treat. Most online casinos offer bonus cash or coins just for signing up. That's your own little participation trophy. Now, go get lucky. let's get lucky.
One that really sticks out to me the most, George, and he's having a fantastic season, is James Wood of the Washington Nationals. I mean, yes, Cal Raleigh's fantastic. Don't get me wrong. He's like a candidate for MVP of the American League. But every time I look up, George, James Wood is either getting 5 hits or being walked 4 times in a game. What a season for this guy.
And he's so young. What, he 22? So what a future this kid has ahead of him.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Cooper flag against Bronny James feels like Mike DeCourcy against Mike Tyson. I'm sorry. I mean, let's be real about this. We're talking about a generational prospect in Cooper Flag, and LeBron's kid who averaged 5.5 points in his 1 year of Division I basketball. I'm not saying LeBron is a poor player, but I don't see him as an equal attraction or an equal.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
You don't want a big that's camped out under the basket and clogging the lane. He provides a lot of really good defense, a lot of three-point shooting, and again, younger than Brook Lopez. It is a good match. I just don't think it moves the needle, but as we talked about to open the show, when Giannis Antetokounmpo is saying, we're not just going to sit here this year and say, oh, Dame's down, let's just take a pause year because I'd rather go try to chase a championship. So at least they're being honest and saying, we're going to make this team better.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Let's get into the latest in Major League Baseball. We'll take a look at the National League West odds as we're joined by Rob Donaldson of Underdog, and also does a great job just covering baseball and the odds daily basis in general. Rob, thanks for coming on NewsWire. Great to meet you. Thanks for coming on the program, and let's just dive right in here. I mean, Jacob Mizorowski, what's left to say here at this point? I was extremely dubious, back in the month of June when they called this guy up. I was like, nobody wins Rookie of the Year getting called up in June. That's just not possible, but I mean, my guy is Augustin Ramirez, okay? So let me make it clear. I want him to win the Rookie of the Year covering the Marlins like I do. But this guy is, certainly putting on a show for everyone. It's hard to ignore.
Yeah, there's been a lot of fun rookies just the past 2 seasons that have kind of come up maybe a little bit later than expected that have performed really, really darn well. And Mizorowski, to your point, is definitely one of them. He's got that kind of sidewinder, almost Chris Sale-esque motion from the right side. He's got a lot of ways he can beat you. And as he kind of showed, after a leadoff home run to Ohtani, he locked in and didn't give up a single other run and was pretty dominant across the board against one of the best offenses in baseball.
Yeah, he definitely was. And I think the Dodgers have now lost 5 straight games, which is the first 5-game losing streak they've had this season. But, Rob, this happens generally to every team in baseball. The Dodgers, certainly could still win 100 games very easily, but they're going to have a losing streak like everybody else.
Yeah, 162 regular season games and then playoffs on top of that. There's a lot of room for, mess ups along the way. And certainly the Mets, the Yankees, the Dodgers just in the past couple weeks here have all experienced that losing skid. And yeah, it's just the Dodgers' turn on that cycle right now.
Out west, beating up on each other. That's the Diamondbacks and Padres. Really close game last night. San Diego wins 1-0 as Luis Arias' home run was the difference there. They got good pitching to go with it. Now, the National League standings here, Rob, let's take a look at them out west. I mean, these 2 teams, Arizona and San Diego, they're just going to keep fighting with each other. But when it comes down to the end, as you see the Dodgers, the Giants, and the Padres all basically within a handful of games of each other, I would imagine at the end of the season, Rob, the Dodgers win the division and they're heavy favorites to do so. But these Giants and Padres seem to be flipping back and forth, and Arizona's had some key injuries, but they're hanging in.
Yeah, and for the Giants, it's going to be a matter of, hey, can we acquire more bats? Which is kind of crazy to say. They acquired Devers. That's a pretty elite bat to acquire midseason, but the offense is still where it's at, and it's not in a good place. And so right now, you can't really be, I say, reliant on the bullpen or just kind of that league average starting pitching for the entirety of 162. You're going to have to make some moves and get some run support. And this has kind of been the Mariners issue, I guess, for the past 3 or 4 years as well, where the pitching is there, the bats aren't, and it ends up killing them eventually. And for that reason, I do think the Padres and the Dodgers are going to be the 1-2 hierarchy here, unless we see some pretty aggressive moves near the deadline.
Meanwhile, the Toronto Blue Jays are having a streak that we haven't seen out of them in a long time. I mean, they have double-digit streak going here after their win again yesterday, and they get a little fortunate getting the White Sox and getting the A's right before the break here. They've now won 10 straight games, and they've been somewhere near the middle the last few years, Rob, like not really having the chance at the trade deadline to make a big move. As I've been talking about throughout the week, Rob, I think this is going to be, Detroit will definitely be super aggressive. They got a chance to win the World Series. They got to go for it. But I think Toronto's going to be right there with them trying.
Yeah, and when you're looking at the Yankees, looking at the Rays, these are two teams that are skidding in the same division as the Red Sox, and the Blue Jays are emerging. And so you really can't put a win streak in a better spot in terms of right before the deadline, 21 days out or so. And when you're also looking at just how they're playing baseball, just in general, away from, the hierarchy of this division, they're playing like the best team in baseball right now. And a lot of their investments that they've made over the past couple off seasons are really starting to turn a new, renewed value to them. And that's really exciting to see, especially if you're a Toronto fan.
The Toronto Blue Jays, by the way, 90.5 is their season win total updated, plus 120 to win the division. This was like 3 or 4 to 1 just a week ago. Plus 750 to win the AL, to win the World Series. They are certainly in it. 20 to 1. They're going to need to do a lot more, I think, though, to win that. Now, as far as the Red Sox go, this is a perplexing team because they've had these mini streaks over the course of the season. Win 4 in a row, lose 5 in a row, win 5 in a row, lose 7 in a row. Hard to figure out. They're going through their softest part of the schedule, facing the Nationals and the Rockies, and they're taking care of business against the teams that are in front of them, Rob. But can they legitimately jump back into this playoff picture?
I think so. And I think it's going to be on the backs of this youthful lineup. And in large part, when you do have a lot of youthful guys, you're not going to be dealing them. And so whereas, a team that's surging up like the Baltimore Orioles, for example, they may be major sellers here in just a couple weeks. The Red Sox, on the other hand, are going to be probably staying pat for the most part. And obviously Garrett Crochet, their best starting pitcher, he's locked up long term. And so I think they're in a good spot where they can just kind of sit on their hands or maybe do a tentative ad. And all of a sudden, this looks like a renewed baseball team with a better focus post All-Star trade deadline, kind of like lingering in the middle there. And for that reason, yeah, I'm kind of a little bit of a tentative buyer on the Red Sox at this point.
All right, so let's look at the odds here. Let's use make the playoffs here. According to the FanDuel Sportsbook, it is plus 210 for Boston to get in. Is that a button you would consider clicking moving forward, or do you think that there's better options that are 3 to 1 or even close to where the Red Sox are?
I actually think this is one of the best value bets on the board, and in large part because we're already seeing the Rays kind of fall out of the mix here, and the Yankees are skidding. Who knows if that's going to, the way we should expect it to go moving forward. But I think the Red Sox have as much of a claim in terms of the most talent on an individual roster in that division, even when you are considering all of those teams. And yeah, at a 2 to 1 pair, almost a 3 to 1 pair, I'm all aboard on that.
Well, Rob, we'll see how the rest of the week goes, and then baseball takes their break for Home Run Derby and, of course, the All-Star Game on Tuesday. Thanks again for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me on, and best of luck the rest of the day here.
All right. Thanks, Rob. Let me give you a quick update here for the Home Run Derby. O'Neal Cruz of the Pittsburgh Pirates, who hit a home run last night, was added to that roster. If I'm not mistaken, I think they have to add one more player by tomorrow to the Home Run Derby field. So one player, they have too many lefties, Frank. They got to be a righty. So there's got to be one more player added to the Derby field, and they'll announce that tomorrow. Also, Tristan Wirfs, great offensive tackle for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, just announced 30 minutes ago he could miss the first 2 of the season, going to have to undergo surgery. Big story there as well. We'll be back with more NewsWire on SportsGrid after this break.
New to social casinos? You're in for a treat. Most online casinos offer bonus cash or coins just for signing up. That's your own little participation trophy. Now, go get lucky. Let's get lucky.
One that really sticks out to me the most, George, and he's having a fantastic season, is James Wood of the Washington Nationals. I mean, yes, Cal Raleigh's fantastic. Don't get me wrong. He's like a candidate for MVP of the American League. But every time I look up, George, James Wood is either getting 5 hits or being walked 4 times in a game. What a season for this guy.
And he's so young. What is he, 22? So what a future this kid has ahead of him.
Fantasy Sports Today. Only on SportsGrid.
Cooper flag against Bronny James feels like Mike DeCourcy against Mike Tyson. I'm sorry. I mean, let's be real about this. We're talking about a generational prospect in Cooper Flag, and LeBron's kid who averaged 5.5 points in his 1 year of Division I basketball. I'm not saying LeBron is a poor player, but I don't see him as an equal attraction or an equal.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
You don't want a big that's camped out under the basket and clogging the lane. He provides a lot of really good defense, a lot of three-point shooting, and again, younger than Brook Lopez. It is a good match. I just don't think it moves the needle. But as we talked about to open the show, when Giannis Antetokounmpo was saying, we're not just going to sit here this year and say, oh, Dame's down, let's just take a pause year because I'd rather go try to chase a championship. So at least they're being honest and saying, we're going to make this team better.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, so they do not have to have a new participant in the Home Run Derby by tomorrow because it's announced today. So the final participant for Monday night, we know the entire field now with Buxton, O'Neal Cruz yesterday, and now Tampa Bay Junior Caminero has announced that he is going to participate in the Home Run Derby. As I said, you can't, Frank, you can't have all lefties in a Home Run Derby, which is kind of the way that it was setting up a little bit. You can't have that. People pay a lot of money for those tickets in left field. You got to make sure there are some lefties or righties that can hit home runs out there. Anyway, now let's get to a little bit of action from yesterday's Scott Farrell Coast to Coast show and also the new head coach of the New York Knicks as we hit you with the Sports Grid sound off. Let's start off with Scott Farrell Coast to Coast yesterday. The NBA draft a couple of weeks ago. We saw the #1 overall pick was Cooper Flag of the Duke Blue Devils. Not a surprise for anyone. But there seems to be some ongoing debate about the youth movement in the NBA and whether or not Bronny James is even part of this conversation with Cooper Flag. According to our very own Michael DeCourcy, they're not even in the same stratosphere, planet, or anywhere else. Here's the conversation they had on Coast to Coast yesterday.
I know you don't get into the NBA that much.
I'm interested in this juxtaposition here. Cooper Flag against Bronny James feels like Mike DeCourcy against Mike Tyson. I'm sorry. I mean, let's be real about this. We're talking about a generational prospect in Cooper Flag and LeBron's kid who averaged 5.5 points in his 1 year of Division I basketball. I'm not saying LeBron is a poor player, but I don't see him as an equal attraction or an equal athlete in that confrontation there. It just feels a little off balance to me. But I am interested to see how Cooper does. I think he's going to be a terrific player. I'm excited that it's working out for him. I still don't know what happened prior to the draft, and I don't know that it's been fully addressed why he didn't go to Philadelphia and how he ultimately ended up in Utah. It's going to be a really tough year in Utah because they seem pretty determined to wind up back in the lottery again next year. So he's going to have just as he did at Rutgers this past season, he's going to have a rough ride in terms of wins and losses. But I think he's a talent. And everybody that I've spoken to that knows him well says he's a wonderful young man, Scott. So I hope he's happy with how his career develops because I have not heard a bad word about him.
All right, now let's get to the NBA, where a new head coach has finally been named in New York. We found out last week it would be Mike Brown, the well-traveled coach. Too many teams to name or we'll run out of time here on the show, but the New York Knicks at the Garden ended up introducing Brown yesterday, who talked about the opportunity to leave to join, leave already, probably soon, the historic franchise.
A lot of hard work, a high level of commitment, and a focus on today. Now, a lot of you guys going to say, this sounds cliche, and it is, but we can't skip any steps. It's about one day, one practice, one shoot around at a time. The soul of our identity when it comes to culture, it's going to be based on a trust that's centered around sacrifice, a connectivity, a competitive spirit, and an overall belief in the process and each other. I'm looking forward to getting to know you all. But there's a lot of work to do, and I'm ready to get started.
Let's get to the latest at Wimbledon. Jannik Sinner, the #1 player in the world in tennis, has won the first set today in his match. Still a long way to go. But by the way, folks, we got some great programming coming up for you this weekend. Breakfast at Wimbledon this weekend, exclusively here on SportsGrid. I don't think we can call it that because it's probably trademarked, I would guess, on NBC, but we have special programming. Make sure you check it out. To learn more, you can download the SportsGrid app. It's available for both iOS and Android. Just scan that QR code right there. It'll take you where you need to be. We're streaming 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We have all the major sports covered for you. I was smart enough to check the schedule email to see that we do have special programming next week for the British Open. For some reason, Wimbledon skipped me, but this weekend, check it out exclusively here on SportsGrid. Coming up next, Sam McQuillan will join us from Legal Sports Report. We'll dive into this latest tax debate around the country. Can you claim losses in gambling next year? Remains to be seen.
New to social casinos? You're in for a treat. Most online casinos offer bonus cash or coins just for signing up. That's your own little participation trophy. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
One that really sticks out to me the most, George, and he's having a fantastic season, is James Wood of the Washington Nationals. I mean, yes, Cal Raleigh's fantastic. Don't get me wrong. He's like a candidate for MVP of the American League. But every time I look up, George, James Wood is either getting 5 hits or being walked 4 times in a game. What a season for this guy.
And he's so young. Was he 22? So what a future this kid has ahead of him.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Cooper flag against Bronny James feels like Mike DeCourcy against Mike Tyson. I'm sorry. I mean, let's be real about this. We're talking about a generational prospect in Cooper Flag and LeBron's kid who averaged 5.5 points in his 1 year of Division I basketball. I'm not saying LeBron is a poor player, but I don't see him as an equal attraction or an equal.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
You don't want a big that's camped out under the basket and clogging the lane. He provides a lot of really good defense, a lot of three-point shooting, and again, younger than Brook Lopez. It is a good match. I just don't think it moves the needle, but as we talked about to open the show, when Giannis Antetokounmpo was saying, we're not just going to sit here this year and say, oh, Dame's down, let's just take a pause year because I'd rather go try to chase a championship. So at least they're being honest and saying, we're going to make this team better.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
And welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. While we fix Sam McQuillan to get here on the air. Let's go through the latest headlines. As I mentioned in sports, the biggest story of the day as far as sports betting is concerned, and really maybe the story of the year as it turns out, is going to be the amount of money that you can end up claiming on losses in sports wagering. Because a new bill that was introduced a couple of weeks ago by the President of the United States basically said that 100% of your gambling losses can no longer be claimed on your tax return for next year if this passes. It's called the Big Beautiful Bill. Now, 90% of your gambling losses can still be passed, but 10% will not be. There was some pushback by other lawmakers around the country saying that you should be allowed to claim 100% of your gambling losses. But now this from the state of New York that is basically not just doubling down on the president's bill, but even going a step further, saying that nobody who bets on sports and loses should be able to claim any of it on their tax return next year. This is in New York specifically, though. This is a state senator by the name of Andrew Gounaris, and the bill is called SB 7876 and will amend the tax law and prohibit deductions for gambling losses entirely. It passed the Senate Budget Revenue Committee and is now with the Senate Finance Committee, and this will end in 2025. So that means as soon as maybe 2025, but it seems like more or less 2026 possibility that those of you who bet on sports and lose don't think about putting that on your tax return. Can't claim losses anymore in New York only, at least for the time being. Oklahoma City's star Chet Holmgren has signed a fully guaranteed contract, 5 years, $250 million. And he is going to remain with the team under this new rookie deal. Nikola Jokic, by the way, has informed the Nuggets that he is going to sign a contract, or not going to sign a contract extension this coming offseason. So the Joker still has not determined what he will do in the future. All right, let's get over to some Major League Baseball action. Sometimes there are walk-off home runs, but very rarely do you see a walk-off inside the park home run, and even more rare to see it from a catcher. Patrick Bailey last night, 4-3 final, a walk-off inside the park homer from a catcher. Can't say that I ever recall seeing that, but it did happen last night as the Giants beat the Phillies by a final of 4-3. Here's Bailey on connecting on the game winner yesterday.
I mean, off the bat, I just knew I got it well. And then, obviously, I saw it was towards Triple's alley, and I was like, oh, I got to go. Like, I at least got to get to third here. Then once I saw the bounce, I was like, all right, just don't fall over.
When you start running out of breath?
Sadly, too soon. Too soon.
Did you even pick up Matt Williams, or did you know?
I picked him up, but again, I kind of had a feeling I was going. And I saw him, he was waving, and I was just like, just don't fall over. Don't fall over.
Have you ever hidden inside the park home run before?
I don't think so. A lot's got to go right for me to hit it inside the park homer.
How did it feel?
Tired. I wish it would have gone over the fence, but.
You guys have such a way to make things happen late, especially when you're down this year. Even going well, going poorly, but what does that say about this team's ability to come back?
We're just resilient. I mean, I think it starts with our leaders on the team showing up every day, playing hard, and I think offense and baseball in general is very contagious. And you get Schmitty starting us off there, Flo doing Flo things, so you're just trying to pass the baton.
Meanwhile, the biggest story in baseball was sports betting last week as Luis Ortiz of the Cleveland Guardians is under investigation for some potential sports wagering, you would say indiscretions, fair to say, but I don't want to accuse the guy of anything yet. Let's bring in Sam McQuillan of Legal Sports Report. And this is where it gets a little bit dicey here, Sam, because you saw the video and I saw the video, and clearly in that third inning of a couple of games, whatever it was, this player Luis Ortiz of the Guardians threw a ball. Pitchers sometimes throw a ball. And, well, yeah, one was real outside and one wasn't. But the way that they're looking into this, Major League Baseball and sports betting, is by finding people who are betting on very specific outcomes. And they found that what I just described was there was a spike in sports betting on specifically with Ortiz. So they've sat Ortiz down and they're going to investigate. What more can you add to that?
Yeah, Ortiz of the Guardians was put on non-disciplinary leave, which lasts through the All-Star break. And that's important to note because it was negotiated between the MLB Players Association and the league. So they're working together to kind of figure out what's happening here. Like you mentioned, we saw these videos of these 2 pitches that he threw, but there's a reason that those were flagged. It's this betting integrity monitoring service called IC360, flagged specific bets on those 2 games from Ohio, New Jersey, and New York, which were placed on these things called micro betting markets, if you don't know, where you can bet what the next pitch is going to be. In the NFL, you can bet what the next play is going to result in. In this case, there was a suspicious amount of activity placed on those 2 markets for him to throw either a wild pitch, hit the batter, or just throw a ball in general. Now, you parlay that with the StatCast tracking that we have. The first pitch that he threw on June 15th to start the 2nd inning against the Rays was statistically the highest arm angle Ortiz has ever thrown on a slider all year. So you parlay that with the outsized betting activity, you got flagging suspicious bet number 1. Then next, on June 27th, there was another pitch to start the inning against Cardinals catcher Pedro Pages, which was statistically the worst pitch he's ever thrown in his career. So you have all these things that kind of add up along with the betting activity. Now, they're still investigating, and the MLB hasn't come out with anything more. But it does come at a time, when we've been talking about Malik Beasley under investigation in the NBA for potentially, manipulating games. Of course, last year you had umpire Pat Hoberg was fired from the MLB for obstructing something in his betting investigation. You got Tupaquita Marcano. Several things have happened over the past year. So I think now we're seeing more attention being paid to these specific kind of things versus just this higher level, did somebody have a betting account? We're really watching what's going on kind of between the lines, especially in a sport like the MLB, which is kind of catered for these micro betting markets, these stop-start kind of things. We should know more after the All-Star break because that's when his non-disciplinary paid leave goes through. So because it was paid, I don't think there was anything found yet. But we should hear more after that. And hopefully it's good news for him. Hopefully it's not more bad news to be found.
Yeah, no, we'll see. And I think it's fair what Major League Baseball has done. And it's really good that you brought up some of the arm angle stuff. I hadn't seen that, but it is interesting to note. Okay, so, California, Sam, this summer seems to be the biggest proponent of just banning everything, like no sports betting. We knew that. Daily fantasy, you got to go. Sweepstakes, you get out of town too. What is going on with this state? I mean, do they want no betting, daily fantasy, sweepstakes? Is there there's got to be a money thing involved, right? Do they just feel they're not getting enough money from these companies?
Yeah, it always comes down to money, Craig. And to answer your question, what's going on? They don't want sports betting in their state. California has not legalized sports betting famously. They've tried to for a couple years and have been met with fierce opposition from the tribal gaming groups, which hold exclusivity over most forms of gaming in the state. They've been extremely opposed to kind of cutting themselves out of anything and allowing other companies to persist. So then you have these other forms of fantasy sports, sweepstakes, all these other things out there that pretty much to tribes look like betting, talk like betting, but don't give them any revenue and any revenue to the state. So there was a bill that was passed this week, which would explicitly ban these sweepstake style casino games. These, of course, are the games that avoid licensing and oversight and taxes as sports betting by allowing you to kind of use some loophole to play. But for many tribes, they're seeing it as an affront on their rights to offer sports betting. It just got passed in one committee, heading to another next week. I would imagine it gets passed before the end of the year. And then you really only have illegal options in California. So that's a whole nother story.
All right, Sam, great stuff as always. Have a great rest of your week. Thanks again for coming on NewsWire.
You too. Thanks, Greg.
All right, coming up next, Big East ESPN are back together again. Simon Applebaum will tell us the latest on the new agreement.
Playing online blackjack and want to try upping your odds? Well, here's a tip. Cheat cards tell you statistics for whether you hit or stand on every move. If you're into stats, this could be your ticket to winning. And it is totally legal. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that rim. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
Just a little flyer, couple of
18.5 point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back to NewsWire. Simon Applebaum is in our New York studios, and you could listen to his podcast. Tomorrow will be televised for the latest on everything that we discuss and a whole lot more. Simon, great to see you back here on NewsWire. Thanks for coming on, and let's get started here and begin with the Big East and ESPN. Of course, the direct-to-consumer, a very big part of this partnership. ESPN's trying to lock down as many conferences as they can, and this feels like a natural fit. It's been going on for decades, right?
Absolutely, Greg. Great to be back with you. Yeah, it is a reunion with a little twist with ESPN. Because ESPN used to carry the Big East basketball tournament Saturday nights in prime time from Madison Square Garden. It was always a super deal. This case, however, is not ESPN. It's ESPN Plus. And it's not the Big East men's basketball. It's women's basketball games. And it's also, more importantly, the rest of what the Big East colleges are doing in terms of everything from lacrosse to winter sports, to track and field, and so forth. It's like 75 women's basketball games on ESPN Plus, and then 200 Olympic events a year. Now, why do they have to do this? Number one, ESPN's going with a mega content service this fall. ESPN Plus can be part of it, so they want to bulk up on as much events as they can off the bat, especially during the fall and winter where you have college action. Also, this could be a model for other mid-major conferences like the Big East, like the Missouri Valley Conference, the Atlantic 10, the smaller conferences like Southland and Sun Belt and West Coast and so forth, especially if we see more of the shenanigans going on among the big college football conference that try to take teams away from the Mountain West or West Coast or whatever. So I think this is a big move by ESPN and by the Big East. One other side note. Remember last week we talked about the NCAA looking at expanding the men's basketball tournament from 68 to 72, 76 teams? Well, it looks like if they decide to do that for this upcoming season, number one, women's basketball would also do the same thing as men's basketball, go to 72 or 76 teams. ESPN would carry the games, the additional games, and more importantly, they will not have to pay extra under their current contract with the NCAA for the women's basketball tournament. So if they do go 72 to 76, it's going to be a big thing for ESPN in terms of their women's basketball coverage, and it may say sayonara to their coverage of the NIT, the National Invitation Tournament. If they want to stay alive, they may have to go somewhere else.
Yeah, that seems fair. NIT's lost its luster for years and years. All right, so for sports fans and National Football League fans, the season is coming up soon. We know that Amazon Prime still has their weekly night game. We know that Netflix did a fantastic job with their Christmas Day football coverage. The question, Simon, I think a lot of people have, is it possible that outside of having those international games that NFL Network broadcasts, could Netflix or even Amazon Prime stream Sunday early games, later games in the future?
They could, and there is a lot of speculation now that because of what the NFL is facing, everything from adding new teams before the end of the decade, having a regular season with 18 games rather than 17, and having at least one regular season game a week played overseas, among other things, and also doing the tinkering with having games on Peacock, games on ESPN, et cetera, that you may see the idea of Netflix and Amazon taking Sunday afternoon games, particularly the 4:25 window. That's the second window on Sundays. 1 o'clock is the first, 4:25 the second. Why? In Netflix's case, they are dead set on doing more live programming. They're going to be doing the women's boxing match from Madison Square Garden on Friday. In fact, they have a press conference later today here in New York about that. They're going to show the weigh-in live also tomorrow. They're doing a David Chan live cooking show starting in August. They're doing Star Search. They're doing other things. Well, talking to Spotify about music programming. They want to do more live programming and be the leader. And so for Netflix, they also want, if they're doing more than NFL Beyond, the Christmas Day games, they want them to be special. They could do that with either getting an international game package or getting a 4:25 game every week and making it exclusive to Netflix. Same thing with Prime Video, an exclusive 4:25 game. That would mean that CBS and Fox, if they stay with the National Football League, would only get the 1 p.m. games and get them regionally. And that could do damage to the ratings. So this is something that the NFL is going to have to ponder, especially since they now know that in terms of monthly viewing, 45% of all monthly viewing, according to Nielsen, is now going to services exclusively on smart TV sets and smart devices. That includes Netflix and Prime Video, compared to 20% for broadcast networks and 25%, 24% for cable networks. And it may only get more in the direction of smart TV services. So the NFL is trying to read the tea leaves, and they're going to figure out maybe, just maybe, it's time to plunge in and give Netflix and Amazon more NFL time.
Yeah, that would be fascinating if that was part of your Sunday. Okay, part of our Sunday here at SportsGrid this weekend is getting ready for the Wimbledon finals. Men's on Sunday, women on Saturday coming up. Simon, it's been a little bit of a mixed bag, I would say. The number one seed still alive, Jannik Sinner playing right now. A lot of the big names have been knocked out early of Wimbledon as well. I wonder if that will affect any of the ratings previously or moving forward.
Especially, Craig, given the fact that a lot of the American names like Coco Gauff and Naomi Osaka, in terms of the women, have been knocked out in the early rounds. It's going to be, I think, today and tomorrow are going to be determining whether or not we will have an American player in the men's finals and the women's finals. Men's finals, of course, on Sunday, starting at 9 a.m. Eastern time on ESPN. Women's finals Saturday, probably 9 a.m. as well. What's interesting is that the first day, the opening day, 357,000 people on average watched ESPN's coverage. That is 37% up from last year. However, since that time, ESPN's been hush-hush. They have not given out any information about how the viewership is doing on a day-by-day basis. I would say that if there is an American in the semifinals, or if you have a Carlos Alvarez in the finals, in terms of the men's, and somebody in the women's, that the viewership could be either even with last year for the finals or slightly up. If not, we may see something like what happened with the French Open, where even though the match was great, the viewership was not.
Finally, Simon, I know that you had a very special guest on the podcast this past week, and people can download it and listen to it. Who was it? And tell us more about the episode.
Carol Stipp, the former ESPN executive who is the head of Women's Sports Network now in year 3. We had a wonderful discussion last Thursday. You can find it on Facebook, on YouTube, on 37 podcast sites like Apple Podcasts and Amazon Music. Bottom line, Women's Sports Network is going to get more new sports leagues on. They definitely want to get more promotion and publicity, and they're starting to make hay with the advertising community in terms of how they want to be going forward.
All right, Simon, great stuff as always. Enjoy the rest of your week. And also thanks for once again coming into the studio to talk to us here at SportsGrid. We'll catch up with you again next week. Thanks again.
You got it, Craig. Always a pleasure. Take care. Enjoy the rest of the week and the tennis on over the weekend.
Wimbledon finals this weekend, and the big event in sports, thank goodness we got it next week, is the British Open, because no Major League Baseball Monday through Thursday of next week. But we will cover Home Run Derby in the All-Star Game for you. And we'll also wrap things up next.
Playing online blackjack and want to try upping your odds? Well, here's a tip. Cheat cards tell you statistics for whether you hit or stand on every move. If you're into stats, this could be your ticket to winning. And it is totally legal. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Cages. Let's get lucky.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
Rearranging that roof. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of 15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. And if you're interested in some fantasy sports, fantasy baseball, fantasy football, make sure you check out our fantasy programming every Saturday and Sunday morning from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern, exclusively here on SportsGrid. All right, as we wrap up the show, NFL season is coming, and so is college football, and so are the Pop-Tarts mascots. It's time now for some last licks. All right, let's start off with fans of the Washington Commanders. This is probably a season with higher expectations for the Commanders in decades, right? Like, let's be honest. When's the last time you went into a season thinking Washington could be a Super Bowl contender even? Well, that's definitely the case this year, although I told you last year it would be the case. That is the case this year with Jaden Daniels and company, adding Deebo Samuel, adding a lot of players. But adding tickets is the problem. Now, the Washington Commanders are going to play the first weekend of the NFL season, and their game is going to be in Spain. But Commanders fans are not able to access or buy any tickets to the game. In fact, if you go on social media, you will see that they essentially are saying that they can't buy tickets. None are available, even for people who are season ticket holders. All of these games are being sold to the international crowd. Now, naturally, you would not expect 30,000 people, 40,000 people from DC to travel to Spain to see their team play for the first game of the season, but apparently so. We'll see if the Commanders organization can get this thing fixed, or else it's just going to be a group of international people watching the game. And, I understand they want to grow the game, and maybe the fans here in the U.S. aren't as important in a game like that. They just want people watching on TV. But as of right now, it's a very tough ticket. I think 1,000 minimum is a ticket for a ticket in Spain to see the Commanders play the first game of the season. All right, now college football 26 is also coming out real soon to your PlayStation or your Xbox for EA Sports. Those are all coming out soon, but there are two faces that you will not see in the game. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think last year there was only like one player or something like that didn't want his NIL, his name and likeness involved in the game. I thought it was Arch Manning, right? Am I correct with that? So this year, Bill Belichick, who's the coach of North Carolina, he's not in the game. Deion Sanders, head coach of the Colorado Buffaloes, he is not in the game. So I don't know how they're going to make this work for the game, by the way, in particular. Now, remember, the coaches are not on the field, but for those of you who have played college football, and believe it or not, this is one video game that I've actually played. I don't play a lot these days, but because my son plays, he plays against me. You do get a chance to see those coaches on the sidelines, but they haven't come out and said why. Clearly, it's a money issue. Both Belichick and Dion feel like they're not being paid enough for their name and likeness in the college football game. So as of right now, by the way, they do updates with this stuff, and they can also be added to the game. But as of right now, when the game comes out, I believe it is next week, you will not see Deion Sanders. You will not see Bill Belichick in College Football 26 by EA Sports. Finally, NFL game coming up in Ireland to open up the college football season. Kansas State, Iowa State. It's going to be an amazing game. It's the first weekend of the college football season. In fact, it's week 0. That is August the 23rd at noon Eastern. Guess who else is going to the game? The Pop-Tarts mascots. They are headed out there, the real mascots and the edible mascots, and they're going to celebrate this game by sending Frosted Wild Berry and Frosted Hot Fudge Sundae to Ireland and the Big Toaster. You can see it all on ESPN as the college football season. Are you kidding me? It's less than 70 days away. Is that right? 80 days away? Nuts. August 23rd on ESPN. Man, I cannot wait to start doing some football here at SportsGrid. I know it's just around the corner. People think they're like, he just likes baseball, covers baseball, does the Marlins. I mean, it is such an amazing time to do football here with you guys here on SportsGrid. Absolutely can't wait. Coming up soon. Okay, but we got to wait a little bit longer. So let's do that by coming up at noon. We got Smiley Kaufman talking some golf. I'm sure he'll be talking British Open. That's next week. Scottish Open, by the way, gets underway soon. 2 a.m. Eastern overseas. Front Office Sports, followed by first is Pharrell Coast to Coast, then Front Office Sports. Game time decisions tonight, in-game live game day. And then Gabe has Sports Rage tonight, so make sure you check out all of the shows with the latest in Major League Baseball WNBA. And hey, we got a full field of the Home Run Derby. Probably going to get some odds up on FanDuel, I would guess, later today. Thanks again to Rob Donaldson from Underdog for coming on, also Sam McQuillan from Legal Sports Report. And in addition, Simon Applebaum from the podcast tomorrow will be televised. As always, our director is Luke, our producer is Frank, and I'm Craig Mish. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day here on SportsGrid. See you back here tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. for our next edition of the show. We'll have a recap of day 1 of the Scottish Open on the PGA Tour and get you ready for a big weekend in sports as well. Have a great day, everyone. See you then.
Flag against Bronny James feels like Mike DeCourcy against Mike Tyson. I'm sorry. I mean, let's be real about this. We're talking about a generational prospect in Cooper Flag and LeBron's kid who averaged 5.5 points in his 1 year of Division I basketball. I'm not saying LeBron is a poor player, but I don't see him as an equal attraction or an equal.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Things you have to look at is what the team has the following day, especially when it comes to bullpen usage. You know, a lot of the things I like to attack is you see these extra inning games, these games get drawn out, these bullpens get worn, or if someone gets shelled the first 3 innings and they got to go to the pen, early, that's a good spot to kind of hop in the middle of the next game. You got a tired bullpen, right? You try and take advantage there, maybe with an over, maybe with the money line. You're getting plus money on a favorite at that point.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Piece of an interesting couple of weeks in California. If you recall, I think it was 2 weeks ago, language was inserted into a bill that would outlaw or ban sweepstakes casinos and sports betting, which of course we've seen lots of that happen this year. So California is an interesting market because, as you've said, there is no legal online casino. There is no legal online sports betting.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
Devin Booker had to run the point when Chris Paul was hurt. And we're like, Devin Booker's a point guard. Devin Booker's not a point guard. Neither is Jalen Green. So I need to know, once you get rid of Bradley Beal, who cannot be on that team, who is the point guard? And then I think as a sixth man, I actually don't mind it with Jalen Green.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.